It's Wednesday, the 13th of April, 2022. Welcome to the Fast 5 by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Okay, Sean, we have 5 minutes to get through 5 stories. Let's jump into it. Story number 1, rents have soared across capital cities over the past 12 months, growing at an annualised rate of about 12% in the cities. That's big.
It sure is. Great if you have an investment property, not so good if you're a renter. Remember, in the first year of the pandemic, rents fell back, but according to data group SQM Research, asking rents have jumped by as much as 21% in some capital cities, specifically Brisbane in that instance. Across all capital cities, asking rents for houses are up 15%, for units are up 11%. Now, why? Well, the rise reflects a growing number of people living on their own, combined with the return of international students in recent months. That's happened as supply has fallen. In fact, vacancy rates are now at 1%, the lowest level in 16 years. As I mentioned, Brisbane led the way. Sydney was up 19%, Canberra and Adelaide 16%, and Melbourne at 7%. The regions have done really well too. All that migration to the country has sent prices up about 15% in terms of rents. In some towns now, though, there are zero vacancy rates. This could actually become an election issue, wrapped up in the whole cost of living argument. It's a bit of a problem for the government. We've spoken plenty about petrol prices. Food prices are rising. Now we're having the cost of shelter increasing. It's bad timing for the government.
Sean, speaking of the government and the election campaign, we have a bit of an update for story number 2 today. Anthony Albanese made his first trip to Victoria yesterday, campaigning around Melbourne, having been in Tasmania in the morning. Gee, Sean, it just occurred to me, the carbon footprint of these politicians during the election campaign must be huge. They cover some serious ground.
I wonder whether they offset. I mean, Scott Morrison yesterday was in Western Sydney mostly. He didn't have too bad a carbon day. I think it'd be a really good exercise to see how much they put out into the air.
Yeah, and not just in their press conferences.
That's right. That's right. Morrison basically said that the election campaign wasn't a popularity contest, so he didn't mind that he was unpopular. He also picked on Albanese because, of course, the Labor leader didn't know the unemployment rate when asked on Monday. Albanese spent the day highlighting Labor's social justice policies. That came to the fore after Morrison supported a push for the legal exclusion of transgender people from single-sex sports. Albanese accused Morrison of trying to sow community division. And just quickly, the latest Roy Morgan research shows Labor maintains a healthy two-party preferred lead of 53% to 47%.
All right, on to story number 3. And Sean, I know you love talking about cryptos. So how about this one? The value of some of the largest cryptocurrencies have tumbled because rising interest rates are making relatively risky digital currencies less attractive.
That's right. Digital currencies won over investors because of the promise of high returns in an environment where interest rates were very low and returns from other financial assets, particularly bonds, weak. But as interest rates rise, the option of buying a bond becomes much more attractive. As a result, cryptos have been sold off. The value of Bitcoin at one point fell nearly 8% yesterday to less than $40,000 a unit. Cardano and Avalanche both fell back sharply. Number 2 crypto Ether was off nearly 10%, and it doesn't look like there's a lot of support for cryptos, at least in the short term, particularly with bond yields rising.
Okay, story number 4, Sean, how about this one? Afterpay said it made a half-year loss of $346 million in the 6 months to December. That is massive.
Yes, it was nearly 4 times the level of 12 months earlier, thanks to ballooning expenses and marketing costs. Afterpay, of course, is now owned by US payments giant Square. The part of the result which I think could cause some heartache is bad debts. They more than doubled to $177 million. Now, bad debts have always been a potential problem for the buy now, pay later industry, and the news shows that it's a growing problem. The share price of Zipco, the number 2 player in the local market, fell more than 6% yesterday, probably as a result of that news about the bad debts.
All right, running out of time, Sean, so we'll keep this one short. Story 5, Honda said it's going to spend $40 billion to shift towards electric vehicles over the next decade.
Yes, it was once a leader in innovation, but Honda's really fallen behind many others in the electric vehicle market particularly. Japan's second largest car maker will launch 30 EV models by 2030 and produce over 2 million EVs a year. Remember, at the moment, it has just one EV model. Honda hopes to end the selling of petrol and diesel cars by 2040. Obviously, Tesla is leading the way in this market, but everyone's jumping on board.
Yeah, that's right. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. There we go. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Wednesday, the 13th of April, 2022. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. And if you'd like something with a bit more detail, a little bit longer, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed on your podcast platform. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.